Ronit and Vida, welcome back to the show.
So happy to be here.
I'm so glad. I'm like, what is the time? We talked for too long prior to the podcast. Do we have enough time? Working moms, making it happen. I just love you guys so much. I literally could have spent the last, this hour and a half block just talking about life and business and being entrepreneurs and passion behind why is our healthcare system so messed up? I know. I'm fired up. Get fired up. Oh, well, for those of our members of our audience who don't know you guys, you both are the founders of WeNatal. You're friends. You've had fertility issues. You both have big families now, babies galore. So can we talk about what inspired you guys to start WeNatal and how your friendship supported you guys through your fertility challenges?
Absolutely. So you know the story, Kelly, but for your audience who doesn't know us, we met in our corporate careers over close to 20 years ago now and became best friends. Always thought we wanted to work together, but it was in marketing and business. And the way our life journeys kind of took us was we had miscarriages a week apart. And it was my second miscarriage and Ronit's first. And the answers we were given from doctors and experts was very dismissive. It was a culture of, there's nothing you can do, keep trying, you're lucky you even got pregnant. And so it wasn't settling and I didn't know any better, but Ronit was working alongside Dr. Mark Hyman. She was entrenched in the functional medicine space. She was told there's root cause medicine. And so she wasn't willing to accept the there's nothing you can do answer. And after crazy research, she called me one day and she was literally like, there is so much data that men are 50% of the fertility equation. Men are 50% of healthy pregnancies and also pregnancy loss. And while it's so intuitive, it was like the biggest mind-blowing stat to us because we're like, why is nobody talking about this? Why does it feel like fertility is a women's health issue? It's not. And so from that day forward, we went down a rabbit hole. Actually, our first couple of calls, Kelly, you were one of them, Dr. Hyman. And we had a handful of just a few of we're going to go to the people we love and admire the most. If they think this idea has legs, we're going to go full force. And that's exactly what we did. I remember we talked to you at 9 p.m. after our first kids were asleep. And we knew that we were onto something. We knew that there was a gap that we had to address and that we all deserve better. That literally we thought we would start with a men's prenatal because we uncovered the research that men have this unique ability to regenerate their sperm and get after it with 3 months of a healthy lifestyle and antioxidants. And we actually thought the world didn't need another women's prenatal, right? It's oversaturated. And then when you pull back the curtains, you realize most of them overpromise and underdeliver. And there was actually a lot of what we believe of not great quality products in the market. And so that began the journey of WeNatal. We're we are going to come out with an innovative solution for her and him. And that was the real kicker of really treating the couple as a whole.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It was such a great idea to come out with a men's prenatal because it was novel. No one had any type of supplement specifically for men, and most of the functional MDs you were working with, and I know many of these women and men have been advisors for WeNatal as well, is, they're putting people on CoQ10. They're putting people on vitamin C and zinc and vitamin D, and they're looking at their antioxidant status. They're looking at their fat soluble vitamins. They're looking at their omega-3 levels, and they're giving them 20 pill bottles and sending it home with them to say, take one of each of these every single day or twice a day. And that can be overwhelming. And a lot of times when they're at that point, the men or women have been trying for maybe at least 6 months to a year. They're kind of at a standstill. They're considering IVF and other fertility options. And so to just get after it and have something simple for men in a couple of pills a day and to be able to do their part in taking something to really improve motility of sperm and quality of sperm is amazing. But what I think was important during our conversation when we first met was that, I had an opportunity to advise for another women's prenatal brand, and they were also from a marketing background, and that's fine, but wanted to dictate the amount in milligrams, each one of the nutrients for that prenatal to really keep it at a specific pill count And I was coming from a functional space where my functional MDs were putting people on 8 or 9 or 10 pills a day. And so to try and keep it at 2 pills a day or 3 pills a day, because that can improve compliance, the science person and the nerd in me was like, right, but we're not using methylated forms of B vitamins. And that's not actually the functional dose that someone needs to really improve, their chances of conception and a healthy pregnancy. Like, so I love that you guys went like, we just had a fertility issue and we've looked at the research and we see what we need, but we're going to tap experts to really tell us where those doses are. And you've gone to the best of the best to do that. And that isn't even, Mark and I know what we like and what we've seen work, or what, for me, it's like what my functional MDs have prescribed in the past when people are having fertility challenges. But you guys have taken it a step further. And I love that about you. So can you talk a little bit about how far you went in tapping experts for the formulation of your WeNatal men and women's prenatal?
Well, first of all, I remember the first call that we had. I believe Chris was in the car with your older son, and I literally just kind of like read off the formulation, and we geeked out around choline and 400 milligrams of choline, which is in our formula. And I don't think there are any other prenatals on the market that have that amount of choline. We geeked out around the 4,000 IUs of vitamin D. We geeked out around the iron. And because what happened with Vida and I is we were taking a pretty good quality prenatal, but we had to add so many things to it because we didn't want to risk another miscarriage. And so we did build an amazing army of experts around our formula. Initially, our formulation took about close to a year, if not more. We thought it would take around a few months. And we worked with Dr. Afrouz Damiri, who at the time was the head of functional medicine at UC Irvine. Not only did she have the education, but she also had the clinical experience of working with couples that had infertility. We brought on Kathy Swift, who is the mother of functional medicine or functional nutrition. She's actually the one who introduced Dr. Hyman to functional medicine. And we created an amazing formula. And then 6 months after launching, a paper came out that was this meta-analysis looking at optimal dosages of the nutrients. And we had to adjust our formula. And it was painful as founders. I mean, we didn't have to, we chose to, because our whole mission is to always be in the forefront of research. And as difficult as it was to get new packaging, update the website, let all of our customers know that we're changing the formula, we did it. And our dedication to science is that we're going to continue to evolve as the science evolves. So, that was kind of our formula in a nutshell, and we're super proud of it. And we know that there's so much research around how women are so depleted of nutrients. The American Journal of Clinical Nutrition reports that 90% of pregnant women are lacking nutrients that support fetal development, and that 99% of prenatals don't contain the appropriate nutrients that are needed. So we knew we needed better for ourselves, for the people that are following our steps. And kind of that's why we shifted, a crazy shift in both of our career trajectories. And now basically talk about sperm and egg quality on a daily basis. That's basically what we do for a living.
Yeah, you do. You do. No, and I think I love that you follow the science, and I love that you do the hard things, and you're forward facing with your customer or your client, the people that purchase your WeNatal prenatals and now Egg Quality Plus, because it's what builds trust. And for me, it allows me to continue to be really excited about the brand and being an advisor and an investor and like just a cheerleader of you ladies, because I think about people like Chris Gresser. Like if he ever said anything that changed and the literature changed, he wouldn't like die on the paper pretending like it didn't change. Like he would be forthright always. And I always respected that about him. And it's something that I try to emulate and always be clear with my customer about too, because and my audience, it's just that you have to be willing to like miss out on sales while you reformulate and be out of stock and do the things necessary to do the right thing. And you've always done that. And I appreciate that. When you say that 90% of women, when they are pregnant, are missing the nutrient levels, that is a clear indicator that they missed them before they got pregnant, that they were depleted before that was even happening. So can you talk about why you decided to build Egg Quality Plus supplement and what and how it's different from a prenatal and what it is?
Yeah. I think, when we started with WeNatal, we had to create the foundation, which was something that we wanted to support couples pre, during, and post. And both partners, the men, we reformulated as the most amazing multi. And for her, we realized it's already overwhelming and confusing. And we wanted it to grow with her and throughout the stages. So we took, like you said, the most integrity to get the best ingredients, the best quality dosages with clinical research behind it into 3 capsules a day. But what we had during our journey, when we were dismissed about our egg quality, that there's nothing we could do, there was so many myths. And we also were adding all these things that were proven by research to be fertility boosters for her. And then based on our clientele and our community, and we've been so entrenched the last few years, we knew that there's so many people like us that want to level up with any research, with anything they can do. And so we went heads down again to create a new product because we remember there was like 5 key ingredients that we were supplementing with on top of our prenatal, which is now WeNatal for her. And we wanted to give that option to people who want an extra boost. And so that became the foundation of Egg Quality Plus.
So our new product, Egg Quality Plus, the foundation of it is essentially mitochondrial support. And we can get into the science of why mitochondrial support helps for fertility, but really CoQ10 is the star of the show. And CoQ10, along with another nutrient called PQQ, supports mitochondrial function. Then you have our antioxidants, which we do have antioxidants in WeNatal for her, but these are kind of extra antioxidants that kind of neutralize and reverse oxidative stress: L-carnitine, alpha-lipoic acid, and NAC, N-acetylcysteine. And by kind of neutralizing oxidative stress, you're also supporting the mitochondria. And why the mitochondria is important is because as the egg is developing and maturing, that time frame before you ovulate, it's super important for the egg to have that kind of battery, that energy, so that the chromosomes split correctly. And then there's less likelihood to have chromosomal abnormalities, which is really the main reason why people have early miscarriage and infertility.
That was perfectly clear and explained wonderfully. I think for a lot of people, when you talk about mitochondria, they're like, cool, mitochondria. Don't know what that does. Or if they take themselves back to science class in high school, they're like, okay, it produces ATP and energy. But when you think about the concentration of mitochondria in your ovaries and what it needs, what that egg needs to really, mature correctly, like just a slight lack of energy. And you're like, this is like, I know the brain is higher than ovaries, but the ovaries have like hundreds of thousands of mitochondria.
I think the eggs have the highest amount of mitochondria compared to any other cell in the body. Oh. And so, yes, improving mitochondria. And I think a lot of people think that your eggs age with you. So if you're 40 years old, your eggs have 40 years of damage, but actually it's your mitochondria that ages. And so by improving your mitochondria, you can improve your fertility outcomes.
Well, that's one of the common myths about fertility. Are there any other myths about fertility that we may encounter online?
I think a lot is around numbers, like how many eggs you have, how many, your AMH. There's so many numbers as an equation that people can get really stuck on and become really stressed about. And while that is part of the story, we're born as women with a couple million eggs, like 1 to 2 million. And on average, by age 37, we probably have about 20,000 eggs. So there is the fact that we will reduce an egg count as we age, but that's not the only story.
I think a lot of people think that quantity of eggs, right? When you have, if you're freezing your eggs, and how many eggs do you get? How many eggs did you get in your retrieval? But really, at WeNatal, we talk about the quality over quantity, because having a high amount of eggs doesn't necessarily mean that you're more fertile. It's actually having better quality eggs. So we always talk about, like, when you're interviewing for a job, or even if it's like you're looking for a partner, you can go on a million dates or interview for every job under the sun. Or is it just better to focus on
A couple good ones.
forward and a couple of really good ones, and doing everything that you can to create that like optimal environment for fertility? So I think like one myth is kind of this, kind of to wrap this all up, is that you have this fertility cliff, that after the age of 35, your fertility just plummets. And it makes sense to kind of, if you think about, oh my God, my egg quantity every month that I ovulate, I have less and less eggs. Of course, that's like super stressful. But I think if we reframe our thinking around quality versus quantity, there can be a lot less stress around that time frame. And as you know, I had Emma when I was 42, and I had Eden when I was 38. And to be honest, I never thought that I was old. I was working in the wellness space. I was doing all the things. We could talk about what all the things are, but really, like, I never felt old. And we always talk about kind of this biological age versus chronological age. And by investing in your biology, you can really kind of combat this like idea that you're too old. So I think one of them is that you have this fertility cliff, and you're never going to have kids if you're not married at the age of 35. I think another one is that, a lot of people say like you're born with the eggs that you're born with. And so there's nothing that you could do to improve your egg quality. Because it is true that you are born with the eggs that you're born with, but there's so much that you could do, because in the 100 days before you ovulate, you have the opportunity to improve how the egg matures. And diet and lifestyle has been shown to impact that development. And in fact, IVF, there's a lot of IVF research on egg quality and embryo quality. And you could see in one woman, you can have better quality eggs cycle after cycle. So within the same woman. So there's actually so much that you could do. And really the foundation lies in the mitochondria. And by improving mitochondria, reducing that oxidative stress, you can really impact this egg quality. And of course, we have to talk a little bit about sperm.
It's this golden window for both people. I think that's the biggest myth buster we want to do, that fertility is not a women's health issue. Fertility is a team sport. It's going to take, and back to that example of like, you just want a few good ones. Well, you don't want like you to be doing everything you can and then like the sperm quality be damaged and vice versa. It's about both partners putting their best foot forward. And so why we're so passionate about talking about sperm and egg all day long is really that we missed out, and we, about the education around trimester 0, which is really this golden window that both partners can give the best lifelong health and gift to their future children, right? And so if you both are preparing your body like you do for a marathon or even a wedding or a special occasion, like you're really going to see it's not just a healthy pregnancy we want to help you with. We want to help you with the lifelong health of your child. And oh, by the way, if you have a girl, it's passed on 2 generations. So you really want to, pass on the best possible genes. And so kind of like, I've worked in sports my whole life. I always think about it in sports, like there's so many ways to train for a marathon. I used to run marathons and half marathons. Don't look at me now, but used to be at the peak of my health. And like, I remember there would be some people who literally buy a pair of running shoes, download a free guide, and like, that's their training plan. And then there's people like me who are like, I want every competitive advantage, right? You get the coach, you find out the best hydration, you're like nutrition, you're doing post-run recovery, you're doing hill workout and things. So there's like basically so many ways to train for conception, for a marathon. We're speaking in Egg Quality Plus to a little bit of a consumer who wants to level up, who wants kind of that best biohacking competitive advantage to be able to do everything that they can do to improve their odds. There are no guarantees in life, but it was the insurance policy that we did that really helped our conception journeys.
And by the way, one reason why these nutrients are not part of WeNatal is because these nutrients have not been studied on pregnancy or breastfeeding. And so it's a very targeted, short time frame, preconception formula.
I see. So when I think about improving fertility, for I think most of us, you're flipping it on its head. You're talking about trimester 0 being that, that first trimester, or those 100, you can say 90 or 100 days prior to conception, when you should be thinking very seriously about supporting mitochondrial health. And you're doing that with your WeNatal for him and your WeNatal for her. And if you want to geek out, you're also adding Egg Quality Plus, because you're adding all these antioxidants and the CoQ10 to support that. Would adding the Egg Quality Plus for men work too for sperm quality?
Well, actually, all the nutrients that are in Egg Quality Plus are in WeNatal for him.
Right. We already have them in there. So
they already have them.
They're good.
So the foundation of improving egg and sperm quality really lies in the mitochondria, which is improved by these antioxidants and by CoQ10. And yeah, they're pretty revolutionary. And just as far as sperm goes, just in talking about sperm, I think men have such an amazing ability to contribute to the fertility equation. Because yes, we talked about the myth that women are born with the eggs that they're born with, and they kind of have the card that they've been dealt. However, diet and lifestyle can, really make a big difference for them. But men are regenerating sperm on a daily basis. And men make 1,500 sperm every second of the day. So literally, you have completely new sperm as a man if you do the diet and lifestyle modifications that we talk about. And really, the lowest hanging fruit is taking the nutrients within the prenatal that are shown to improve motility, count, morphology. And we always say, especially if you're an older woman who wants to get pregnant, if you're working on your egg quality and you're improving your egg quality, you want to also make sure that you have good quality sperm to fertilize that egg, because you did so much hard work.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and thinking about mitochondrial health for supporting the development and maturation of eggs and the development of sperm for both parties, what are we doing outside of taking the antioxidants and the nutrients that support the quality of both? How are we supporting those mitochondria with lifestyle choices to remove oxidative stress and lifestyle choices to improve mitochondrial health? What are your top tips?
I think before we get into the tips, it's important to talk about just generally what's happening with the fertility crisis that we're seeing. And the fertility crisis is essentially a decline in male and female fertility that we've been seeing over the last 50 years. That is a result of the environment and lifestyle that we're living. So just from a super high level, and we could do a whole podcast about this topic, but from a super high level, when we started working on WeNatal, 1 in 8 couples were suffering from infertility. Last year, the World Health Organization shared that 1 in 6 couples are suffering from infertility. And this year, the CDC has reported 1 in 5 couples. So that's 20% of people are experiencing infertility. But like Vida said, it's not just on the women. We've been seeing a decline in sperm counts since the last 50 years or so. Men have about 50% less sperm compared to their grandfathers. And it's been declining consistently by 1% per year. But since the year 2000, it's been declining 2.3% per year. So there's definitely something going on. And it mirrors a little bit what we're seeing with chronic disease, right? And so right now, the modern solution to the infertility crisis is really IVF, which is a $20 billion industry. And I think that there's definitely a time and a place for couples to explore that option, but it's not the only option for people. And our mission, and we get so fired up about preconception because we know that there is so much that you could do to improve your fertility before you go down that route.
And we've had countless testimonials. And maybe the best part of our job is like seeing the couples who struggled. We have one customer, I think she had 13 to 14 rounds of IVF and then found functional medicine, found WeNatal, and conceived her beautiful daughter. I mean, we have countless stories of people who struggled, told their, it's goosebump worthy.
I mean, it's all over my body right now.
I can't even tell you, Kelly, like they make my day. And that also shows us we're onto something so powerful. And we've had the friends who were told they're infertile or unexplained infertility. We're given these really toxic mind frames. And then you find out, I had a friend who got a surrogate and had her baby. And when she was told she was infertile, can never have children. And when the stress of it was off, she had a kid naturally. I mean, there's countless examples of like, there's more you can do. And that's all we want to do. And even if you're going to go down egg freezing, IVF, freezing your sperm, let us help you get the best quality egg and sperm for that journey. And we are here to support all couples, anyone or all people trying to start a family in any form.
So I would say like there's 6 main areas that we like to focus on at WeNatal when we talk about what couples could do in the preconception timeframe. It's food, it's movement, it's sleep, it's emotional health and stress, it's environmental toxins, and it's basically toxic behaviors that have now become so just common. So as far as food goes, we know that American people are overfed and undernourished. We know that 70% of our diet comes from ultra processed foods. So from a high level, let's just clean up the diet, right? Let's eat organic when we can. Let's eat real food. And there's a lot of research around the Mediterranean diet when it comes to male and female fertility. And we know that now research is even showing that the men's diet can impact the offspring. So if a man eats processed foods 2 weeks leading up to conception, they can see a difference in the insulin resistance of the offspring. So we've known, okay, when a woman is trying to conceive or when she's pregnant, she does dial in her diet, but it's on the man as well.
Yeah. So it's very exciting to see us shift the gender paradigms a little and just like really put the focus on both.
So obviously full foods, I'm going to bring it back to blood sugar. We mentioned insulin resistance being passed down to our offspring. What about metabolic health markers for couples prior to conception?
Huge. We're seeing this whole trend of Ozempic babies. And we're not here to say, take Ozempic in order to balance your blood sugar and have babies. But the truth is when you do balance your blood sugar, it balances your hormones. And, we can geek out on all the science but really like PCOS is the number one cause of infertility in women. And the foundation of it is insulin resistance. So
a decade of blood sugar dysregulation prior to diagnosis.
Yep.
So
it's
exciting to see when people are able to clean up their metabolic health and their blood sugar and then just see the babies happening naturally when they're not. A lot of couples who were told they were infertile or can't and then got on Ozempic. So it's definitely hasn't been research on fertility, and that's not our suggestion. It's really the learning of that, their metabolic health. They became so much healthier and therefore their body was able to prioritize conception.
And then another one is movement. So we always say not too much and not too little, right? We are living in a sedentary lifestyle. Some people don't move all day long. And research shows that it's super important to your metabolic health, to your mood, to your stress levels, to move. And research done on men has shown that if a man is walking over 4,000 steps a day, it has a big impact on their testosterone and their hormone balance. But not to say like our friend Bridget, so going to the next one, sleep, our friend Bridget in regards to fertility always says sleep over exercise. So if you had to pick one, prioritizing deep regenerative sleep is super important because that's when your body repairs itself.
Yeah. And I think sleep in general is underrated these days, but it's such an important foundation for your body to restore and repair. And I think a lot of us are more and more wired, more and more blue lights at night, and all these things. But these small things, like going back to the very fundamental, like issue, sleep, movement, food, are really the foundation of not only being healthy, but a great fertility journey.
No, I totally agree with Bridget. When we look at the research of a poor night's sleep and the next day someone being insulin resistant as if they had pre-diabetes or diabetes, that poor sleep drives poor eating behaviors. Those poor eating behaviors dysregulates blood sugar. That dysregulation of blood sugar then creates another poor night of sleep. It dysregulates energy. It causes a issue with hormones. So it kind of can be the catalyst. Poor night sleep can really be the catalyst of inflammation in the body and dysregulation. And so, yeah, I mean, whenever I have someone has goals and sleep is the top priority.
Yeah, I love it. And one of them that I'm very passionate about is emotional health and stress. I think this world, as we all know, is becoming more stressful. That's not going away. I'm not here to say no stress in your life when you're trying to conceive, because you look at me like I had two heads. But it's really about, even if we go back to an evolutionary perspective, when we're stressed all day, and I actually suffered from this from 20 years in a corporate career, our body's in fight or flight mode. And that was made for danger, not for everyday life. And your body can't prioritize conception. It's actually taking your energy and blood flow away from the reproductive organs. And so we've learned that stress can directly affect both women and men. It could hurt the hormone levels, the sperm quality. And so finding a practice that actually brings you some joy in this stressful world. One of the reasons we created a journal as part of WeNatal was not because of anything other than the fact that we can give you the best supplements and advice on diet and nutrition, all these things. But if you're so stressed, there is really nothing we can do. Like, it has to be a holistic approach. And the journal we created was to get back to a practice of gratitude, for bring couples closer together and do questions and answers together, but really just one tool that we wish we had when we were trying to conceive. And whatever it is for you, whether it's meditation, getting in nature, we so recommend really trying to balance the stressful world with things that bring you a little bit more at ease and grounded.
We know. I mean, I just had Josh Clemente on the podcast before you guys. He's the founder of Levels, and just looking at our psychology having an effect on our physiology. I mean, him and I talked about how stress, and people don't think about it as something that would cause a spike in blood sugar, dysregulation in your blood sugar. I mean, your body truly doesn't know that you're not running from a lion and that it's an email from your boss and it's like a corporate meeting that you're late for, or whatever the case may be, a presentation. Like those, I wear a CGM, I wear Levels. I will do it cyclically, like after a vacation, or, kids are back in school, I wore it for 2 weeks. I don't have one on currently at the moment, but what was probably one of the most aha moments is I remember Chris and I got in a tiff, and we were in the garage and like talking about like who had who and who was taking who where. And it was like probably something stupid. But I remember looking at my CGM data and being like, why did I have such a crazy blood sugar spike at that time? And it was like, a fight with my husband caused a major escalation in my blood sugar. And it's like, of course, like my body is releasing adrenaline and cortisol, and it's a stressful situation for me. And I love when we are communicating and in a good flow, and like every married couple, we're going to have our squabbles. But it was crazy to see that had that effect on me more than any hardcore HIIT workout I've ever had, infrared sauna session, dawn effect, caffeine. I was like, wow, like, I must love you so much that like you have such an effect on me when we like when we're at odds. Like, it was crazy. And so I think I love that journal for that reason. I just don't think they're like, ooh, it's woo. I don't connect the dots of that. But I'll tell you firsthand, like feeling the energetic connection between you and your partner, and making sure that you are taking time to work on that and nurture that, especially when you're stressed about getting pregnant together, it's just a really good tool. It's a tool to like sit down and answer the questions together and manifest and put yourself in a place of like what it would be like if we were pregnant and what we would do with our child, and like get to that place of like not the what ifs, but really like, why we want to do this and what it's going to be like and how good it's going to feel, and put yourself in the place of like it's already happening instead of like the place of stress around will it ever and what will happen and will we have more pain. And the three of us sit here on Zoom and we have access to a lot of functional medicine doctors. We've worked for them and we've worked with them, and we've all had miscarriages.
Yeah.
And it's just like no one is immune. And as these numbers continue to creep up, that to 1 in 5 couples, your mission to help women and men conceive and to take equal weight and responsibility for their part in the conception journey and a healthy pregnancy, and to work together is admirable. And I'm really excited. I'm happy to support you ladies in all that you do, because the numbers are staggering. And it's just like, what? Yeah, like what's it going to be like when Sebastian wants to have a kid, if that's the case, if he does, I think it's some of the most heartbreaking things too, because you see these women like drivers in their careers working really hard and they have all these plans, and then they're like, yeah, I want to get pregnant right now. And it's not like they ever take a minute to say like trimester, what? Like, and it's like an on and off switch, you're just like, I don't want to get pregnant. I want to get pregnant now, yesterday. So
I'll tell you from like my story, just personally, when I had my miscarriage, I took 3 months off from trying, and I took the solid prenatal that we were taking at the time. And I was adding all the things, the CoQ10, the NAC, L-carnitine, and also I was doing acupuncture, but we didn't try for 3 months. And I really gave my body the time to heal and my mind. And then after 3 months, at the age of 41, we tried. And my sister was over for dinner. And I thought, like, wouldn't it be fun if I was like pregnant right now? So like I took a pregnancy test, went to the bathroom. It didn't turn positive right away. So I threw it in the trash. The next morning, my husband is like cleaning out the trash and he pulls out the pregnancy test and he's like, did you see this? It's positive. And I was like, what? And he's like, I was like, no, that can't be right. I mean, it's from yesterday. So like, let me just like pee on another stick. And it was positive. And I was 41, but I did all the things. So like all of this to say is like, it is important to take that time, even if you're in a rush, even if you want to have that baby yesterday, to take that time to create an environment that welcomes a baby. And so like when we talk about environment, we also need to talk about the toxins in our environment. Plastics are everywhere nowadays. It's in our food and our water. There's like, they say that your indoors is more toxic than your outdoors. So taking that time to like set the foundation within your home and really like investing in preconception. I think that's like our PSA. It's the biggest gift you can give your child is taking that 3 months as a couple to do all the things for your body, for your environment, for your mental health. And then anything in regards to like toxic behaviors, I think like so many behaviors have become common because they're legal: marijuana, smoking, vaping. But really, like, you are creating life. You're not just getting pregnant. You're not just having a baby. You are giving somebody the DNA that will give them their entire lifelong health. So taking that time to invest in your health and kind of eliminate those toxic behaviors are key. And it's possible.
I think that PSA is a good one, because we worry about like, oh, is it going to happen? Oh, I'll just start right now. I'm just going to try right now because it's what I want to do now. But in reality, like, we've all had experienced loss. And if in giving yourself that preconception and using antioxidants and pulling things from your diet, whether that be, alcohol, tobacco, marijuana, whatever it is, not trying to focus on stress reduction, breath work, meditation, movement, focusing on your food, cleaning out the plastics. I mean, I just read a study the other day that I was like down a plastics rabbit hole. One plastic cutting board. I was sent a plastic cutting board by this like really hipster cute company, and they have like all these cute knives and stuff. And I was like, this is cute. And I looked at it and it had cuts, and I was like, plastic cutting board. One cut of a carrot on a plastic cutting board is 1,100 microplastics per cut. That is the equivalent of 15 million to 80 million microplastics in your lifetime if you're using plastic cutting boards. And people are like, oh, shoot, I use plastic cutting boards. My mom's used plastic cutting boards. But the restaurants you're going to are using plastic cutting boards. It's not that hard to just throw those away and get a wood cutting board. Like, you're putting in the effort to cook at home. That is a great place to start. Plastic water bottles, all that stuff. Like, just the little things instead of being like, it's everywhere. Worse.
Yes.
But just to say like, okay, one at a time, what are we going to get rid of? We are going to take a Yeti in our, a coffee cup in our car if we really have to get a coffee out and we want to take it to go, or we're going to sit there and drink it out of the mug. We're going to use a wood cutting board. We're going to pull out all of the like crappy pots and pans, but like you can do that one at a time. Like, run out of your cleaning supplies, EWG, Think Dirty, whatever you're using, like, let's find a new one. Let's replace one at a time. Like, shout out to Branch Basics, because I just have that and I use it everywhere. It's the greatest ever. But like, there's so many brands like that now that are really supporting this health journey. And I think that's just, it is exactly what you say. Like, I'd rather spend 3 months trying and taking time to protect myself and my egg quality and clean out my environment for a healthy pregnancy, to have a healthy pregnancy that takes to not have the loss. Like,
yeah. And then you're setting the foundation to bringing home a pure, beautiful baby, and you don't have bleach and toxic cleaning supplies. And by the way, my girls now are 3 and 8, and they use my makeup. So, but I don't care, because all my makeup is clean beauty brands. They use all of my stuff. Emma went to school today. I was like, are you wearing lipstick? She's like, yeah, she's 3.5, but all my stuff is clean. And I think Vida and I always say, like, the most toxic places in the house are the kitchen and the bathroom. And slowly changing things out. It doesn't have to happen in a day, but just being aware of it. And I think like the plastic cutting board, people don't think that it's a big deal because you can't see it. But if someone really wants to geek out on the science behind plastics and what it does to fertility, they can look up Dr. Shauna Swan and her book Countdown, and she shows the correlation between how all these plastics and BPAs and forever chemicals have increased in our environment, and how that directly correlates with a reduction in fertility in men and women.
right. I mean, I love her stuff. And I feel like it's surprising to me that it was only about 18 months ago when they took samples of plaques from arteries, and they found with people who had microplastics in their arteries, they had a 4.5 times increase for stroke and heart attack. So it's like, we think it's the plaques and we think it's cholesterol, but in reality, it's like, if these microplastics are the scaffolding in our arteries collecting this stuff, are they really the cause of inflammation if they are the backbone of all of our hormones and our brain health? Probably not.
Yeah. Yeah.
I get fired up.
Too. We
All
have
that to say.
a guide with like all of our recommendations. If people want to, like, our preconception Bible that has 9 tips for couples that are super easy, digestible. We talk about air filters, water filters, opening your windows, getting a plant. If they go to WeNatal.com/guide, they can download it for free and geek out on more things that they could do.
Amazing. So here's what we're doing. We're going to WeNatal.com/guide. We're getting that free guide. If you are in the preconception trimester 0 or the primester, depending on what terms you're using, use that guide. Get on WeNatal for him and her. Take Egg Quality Plus in that preconception window. And then fingers crossed and prayers up for a healthy pregnancy. And use that journal to connect and not be at odds with your hubs or whoever it is that you're having a baby with.
Yeah. Yeah, and if anybody ever needs to like connect, feel free to DM us. We talk to everybody. We love supporting people. Kelly, you know me, I would give out free product to every single person in the world if I could. They're just so passionate, and we really want to support couples on this journey.
Well, I think you've made your pain a passion and you're changing the world one baby at a time. So thank you for all that you do and for following the science always and for sharing your tips and tricks and giving away your free guide and really just like being the bleeding hearts that you are for all of the rest of the women who've been through the struggles that we've all been through. So thanks for all that you guys do. Where can people follow along? Where can they learn more?
We have a special offer for your audience too. If they go to wenatal.com/Kelly, they get a free Omega with a subscription. So that's exciting. At @we_natal for Instagram and wenatal.com. And like she said, if you have any questions, care@wenatal.com is our email. We're here for everybody. You can DM us, but really we want to foster community. We want to create the community we wish we had. And small tidbit, but I know you'd appreciate it. Our subscribers get free nutrition consults. And, there's so many pieces to WeNatal that are bigger than the supplement that we want to share. So thank you for being part of our amazing brand.
Well, I'm just a megaphone for all the work that you guys are doing behind the scenes. And I love all that you're doing. And I'm just really excited to continue to cheer you guys on. So thank you for doing what you do. And I'll put links to all of this in the show notes. If anything, I think no matter where you are on your fertility journey, I think people think like, oh, well, we're not going to try yet. So like, I'm not going to start taking a prenatal, or I'm not going to learn about these tips and tricks to lower oxidative stress and support my mitochondrial health. Like it's happening. If you're breathing, you're in contact with oxidative stress, and these strategies are for everyone, no matter where they are in life, preconception, like college, 20s, 30s. Even I think about like later in life, like perimenopausal, menopausal, like your mitochondrial health that's your energy source. That's your life force. Like you want your mitochondrial health in tip top shape. So grab that guide.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.